Every day, you navigate life by a set of unwritten rules. But what about the written ones? The laws so absurd they make it illegal to carry a plank of wood, or demand you walk your dog exactly 3 times a day. These aren't jokes. They're real rules, relics of a logic so baffling you'd swear it was designed by confused aliens. Today, we're counting down the 50 most absurd laws that dictate your every public move, and proving that common sense is rarely common law. 1. That harmless plank of wood you just bought for a weekend project? In London, it can instantly turn you into a public enemy. An 1839 law makes it illegal to carry lumber along a public pavement unless you're unloading it directly from a vehicle. This law transforms a simple trip to the hardware store into a high-stakes stealth operation. You can just picture a law-abiding citizen trying to fix their garden fence, suddenly creeping along the walls, hiding their 2x4 like it's a stolen masterpiece from the British Museum. It's a rule that seems to assume every piece of wood is destined for a public jousting match. 2. Think you're a good dog owner? In Turin, Italy, the government has an official scorecard for that. A local law mandates that dogs must be walked a minimum of 3 times a day, or the owner faces fines of up to 500 euros. Picture the dog police with stopwatches, noting exactly how long Bartholomew's been sniffing that lamppost. If he decides he's only up for 2 strolls today, you're not just dealing with a lazy pet. You're a repeat offender in the eyes of the law. 3. We've all felt that primal, satisfying urge to lay on the car horn when another driver does something incredibly foolish. Well, in the United Kingdom, giving in to that feeling is officially against the law. The highway code strictly forbids using your horn aggressively or while your vehicle is stationary. So that driver who just cut you off and then parked in the middle of the road? Legally, you're supposed to just breathe deeply and think calm. British thoughts. This rule essentially criminalizes road rage, which, honestly, would bankrupt half the drivers in my city with fines. 4. If you enjoy your soup with gusto, be warned. In Trenton, New Jersey, that could make you a public menace. A city ordinance makes it illegal to slurp your soup at a public eatery. This creates the incredible image of a special soup crimes unit lurking in diners. Ears perked not for trouble, but for the telltale sound of someone enjoying their ramen a little too much. It's a city that officially legislated against bad table manners. Your mother would be so proud. 5. Until just a few years ago, every single Harry Potter fan in Canada was technically a criminal. A ridiculously archaic law made it illegal to pretend to practice witchcraft. The rule was aimed at fraudulent fortune tellers, but its broad language meant any kid waving a stick and yelling expecto patronum was, in theory, breaking federal law. Its repeal in 2018 finally made it safe for Canadian muggles to engage in magical make-believe without risking a criminal record. 6. Dreaming of that dramatic movie moment where you object at a wedding. In South Australia, that dream will cost you 2 years in prison. The law doesn't care if you're declaring undying love. It sees you intentionally disrupting a formal ceremony, and the punishment is no joke, a $10,000 fine or jail time. It's the ultimate legal guarantee that nobody ruins the wedding photos. The state demands you speak now or forever hold your peace. From behind bars. 7. There is no greater sin in the British social code than cutting in line. It's a violation of everything they hold dear. But on the London Underground, it's not just a social faux pas. It's a prosecutable offense. A Transport for London bylaw makes it a crime to queue jump or otherwise shove your way forward. This is the only place on earth where the collective, withering glare of a nation has been codified into law. Imagine the scene. A tourist tries to subtly merge into the line and is met not just with silent scorn, but with the very real possibility of a fine from an officer. It's a beautiful, terrifying thing. 8. Flying a kite is the picture of harmless fun, right? Wrong. In Victoria, Australia, it can be a punishable offense. A local law makes it illegal to fly a kite in a public place to the annoyance of any person. This means a grumpy stranger can shut down your day just by claiming your kite's too cheerful. Imagine the trial. Exhibit A, a rainbow kite accused of smiling in a menacing way. 9. Ever had one too many and needed a friend to lean on? In Scotland, if that friend is a cow, you're breaking the law. A beautifully specific statute from 1872 makes it illegal to be drunk while in charge of a cow. This wasn't to protect the cow's feelings, but to prevent intoxicated herdsmen from causing mayhem. It paints the magnificent image of a Scotsman in a kilt, swaying slightly, trying to explain to a police officer that the cow is, in fact, his designated walker. What would the cow say in its court testimony? We can only guess. 10. Think modern politics is a battlefield? The UK has a 700-year-old law to stop it from becoming one, literally. The 1313 statute forbidding bearing of armor makes it illegal for a member of parliament to enter the Houses of Parliament in a full suit of armor. You can see the logic, preventing nobles from intimidating opponents during a vote. The fact it's still on the books is a magnificent reminder that no matter how heated the debate gets, you have to leave your sword and shield at the door. 11. In Sweden, a spontaneous dance party could get you arrested. Seriously. An old law requires a permit for any spontaneous public dancing, intended to regulate rowdy dance halls. This means a police officer could legally shut down your joyous flash mob, not because you're a nuisance, but because your moves weren't pre-approved by a government bureaucrat. So is that the fun police, or just the choreography police? 12. In France, ketchup is basically contraband in school cafeterias. This isn't about health, it's about cultural warfare. The government severely restricts its use to protect traditional French cuisine from American influence. You can just picture the black market that must exist. Kids smuggling Heinz packets in their backpacks, all for a taste of freedom for their fries. It's a law that treats a condiment with the seriousness of a state secret. 13. Zipping along on an electric scooter can be a fun way to see a city. But in London, you'd better do it with a pleasant, non-furious expression. An ancient law originally designed for horse-drawn carriages now applies to modern transport, making it illegal to ride furiously. This creates the incredible job of a police officer having to assess the fury level of a scooter rider. I would love to see the training manual for that. Is there a government-issued fury-o-meter, or is it just based on how much you're gritting your teeth? 14. In parts of Australia, stubbing your toe can be a costly mistake. If you let out a stream of curses in a public place, you can be hit with a significant fine for using offensive language. This law seems to believe that human beings are biologically programmed to whisper, "Oh, fiddlesticks," after dropping a hammer on their foot. In reality, you'd just be a person in pain, suddenly facing a fine for reacting like a normal human. 15. Michael Jackson's iconic Moonwalk may be a legendary dance move, but in New York City, performing it after dark could get you in trouble. A real, if rarely enforced, city ordinance makes it illegal to walk backwards after sunset. Picture a cop pulling out a tape measure to check the length of your moonwalk, deciding if you've just committed the smoothest misdemeanor in town. 16. We all have to clear our throats sometimes. But in Barcelona, that biological necessity could cost you hundreds of euros. The city has a strict law against spitting in public spaces, transforming a simple gross habit into a pricey offense. You can picture a tourist about to clear their throat, suddenly remembering the rule and having a moment of pure, awkward internal panic. It's a city that essentially fines you for something your mom just used to yell at you for. 17. Imagine you're at a London park and your dog starts getting friendly with a particularly well-groomed corgi. You'd better check that corgi's pedigree, because an old British law makes it illegal to permit your pet to mate with a pet from the royal household without permission. So if your plucky terrier, Fido, makes eyes at one of the king's prize dogs, you need to intervene immediately, lest you be accused of facilitating a romance that threatens the very stability of the monarchy. 18. You're at a parking meter, frantic. The time is about to expire, and you're just a few cents short. In the UK, asking a nearby stranger for that spare change is technically begging, and therefore illegal. This law, meant to curb aggressive panhandling, accidentally targets one of the most common and desperate urban interactions. It feels like a law secretly designed by the parking meter companies to ensure every single failed payment results in a hefty ticket. Your only legal option is to let the meter expire and accept your fate. 19. For most of us, 8 a.m. is just the start of the workday. In 19th century London, it was a hard legal deadline for your morning chores. An 1847 law made it an offense to clean your doorstep or wash your windows after 8 a.m. if it caused an annoyance to passers-by. It creates the hilarious image of someone frantically scrubbing their front step at 7:59, racing against a legal deadline like they're defusing a bomb. The early bird gets the worm, but the late riser gets a fine for having a clean house. 20. In Switzerland, even recycling can be a crime if you do it on a Sunday. It's illegal to engage in noisy activities on the day of rest, and this includes loudly throwing glass bottles into a public recycling bin. Picture the scene. You, clutching a wine bottle, creeping toward the bin like a jewel thief, knowing one clink too many could make you the most wanted eco-criminal in the neighborhood. 21. In the United Kingdom, it is illegal to be drunk inside a pub. That's right. The 1872 Licensing Act makes it an offense for the pub owner to permit drunkenness on their premises. This creates the magnificent paradox of a place built for drinking where you're not legally allowed to get too good at it. You can just see the bartender nervously eyeing a patron who's laughing a bit too loudly, not just for their safety, but to avoid a fine himself. It's like being fined for clapping too loud at a concert. 22. In Barbados, your favorite pair of camo shorts could get you arrested. It's illegal for anyone who isn't a member of the armed forces to wear any kind of camouflage clothing. This isn't a fashion suggestion. It's a matter of national security law. Imagine a tourist being pulled aside at the airport, not for carrying contraband, but because their cargo pants are considered a threat. It's the one place on Earth where the fashion police are an actual branch of law enforcement. 23. We've all seen someone get so angry they can't see straight. Well, in Ireland, if you're a ship inspector, that's not just a figure of speech, it's a legal disqualification. An old Merchant Shipping Act states that a person cannot be appointed as an inspector of ships if they are in any way interested in or are connected with a ship in a way that might affect their judgment. Which means, theoretically, hugging a boat and calling it "my precious" could cost you your career. 24. In Florida, falling asleep under a salon hairdryer can get the salon owner fined. This law applies to women specifically. A salon owner is legally responsible if a client dozes off while under a dryer. This transforms a relaxing salon visit into a high-stakes mission to stay awake. You can just picture the hairstylist nervously watching their client's eyes flutter, ready to poke them awake, not out of care, but out of fear of a citation. Only in Florida. 25. That classic childhood prank of ringing a doorbell and running away? In the UK, it's a criminal offense. The Town Police Clauses Act of 1847 specifically makes it illegal to willfully and wantonly disturb any inhabitant by pulling or ringing any doorbell or knocking at any door. So those mischievous kids aren't just being annoying, they are, in the eyes of a 175-year-old law, hardened criminals. What's next? Making the floor is lava illegal on public sidewalks. 26. On the beaches of Spain, your majestic sandcastle could be deemed an illegal structure. In some municipalities, like on certain beaches in Tenerife, building large sandcastles is forbidden without a municipal permit. It turns a classic family vacation activity into an act of unlicensed construction. You can just see a family proudly finishing their sandy fortress, only to have a beach patrol officer approach with a tape measure and a citation book. Do they get a demolition order for that? 27. In one town in the Philippines, gossiping can cost you money and force you to do community service. The town of Binalonan passed an ordinance banning the spread of rumors and other false information. This essentially legislates against human nature itself. My entire neighborhood would be bankrupt in a week. It creates the amazing scenario of two neighbors whispering over a fence, then suddenly stopping and looking around nervously, as if they were conducting a drug deal instead of just talking about Brenda's new garden gnome. 28. In one town in Alberta, Canada, yelling is strictly off-limits. A local bylaw prohibits shouting or making any loud noise in public. This turns sports events into the most Canadian thing imaginable. Hockey fans politely nodding in approval after a goal. In this town, even your victory cheer has to sound like you're apologizing for winning. 29. In the UK, if you're holding a hot air balloon, you are legally forbidden from letting it go. Under the Civil Aviation Act, it's an offense to allow a large unmanned balloon to go adrift. This creates the potential for a bizarre form of imprisonment. Imagine you're helping with a launch, holding the rope, and the pilot is nowhere to be found. You are now stuck, legally tethered to this giant floating object, unable to simply let go and go home. 30. In Petrolia, Ontario, you can be fined for being too happy, too loudly. A town bylaw restricts excessive noise at all times, and that explicitly includes whistling, yelling, and singing. The rule states that no one should yell, shout, hoot, whistle, or sing on any public street at any time. So that cheerful person strolling down the street, whistling a happy tune, they're a public nuisance, one hoot away from a fine. Is joyful humming next on the chopping block? 31. In one Georgia town, eating fried chicken with a fork is a crime. That's not an exaggeration. A Gainesville city ordinance from 1961 makes it illegal to eat the city's signature dish with anything other than your hands. This creates the incredible image of a police officer dramatically slapping the silverware out of an unsuspecting tourist's hand. While it's mostly a publicity stunt, the law is on the books. Is this culinary freedom or poultry-based tyranny? You decide. 32. In London, having a bit of winter fun on an icy sidewalk can make you a criminal. A law from 1839 makes it illegal to make or use any slide upon ice or snow in any street, to the common danger of the passengers. Picture a police officer arriving at the scene with a hairdryer, melting the crime scene before anyone else can attempt the dangerous act of sliding 5 feet while giggling. 33. In France, you can legally get married to a dead person. Known as necrogamy, this law allows for posthumous marriage if there's clear evidence the couple intended to marry before one of them passed away. It creates the surreal scene of a wedding ceremony, where one of the partners is represented by a photograph. It's a somber and strange law, born from wartime tragedies, and it raises the ultimate question. What exactly do you write on the anniversary card? 34. In a small town in Alberta, Canada, your bad business idea could be a crime. A local bylaw makes it illegal to set off or discharge firearms at anything for a prize or reward. It effectively bans old-timey carnival shooting games, presumably after one too many goldfish bowls met a tragic end. The law ensures no one will ever again win a giant teddy bear at the cost of public safety and several shattered plates. 35. In Canada, paying for something with too many coins is literally against the law. The Currency Act of 1985 sets legal limits on how many coins can be used in a single transaction. For example, you can't pay for something over $10 entirely in pennies. This allows a cashier to legally refuse your mountain of change, turning your piggy bank into a weapon of minor financial annoyance. Remember, in Canada, your 26th penny could be a federal offense. 36. At the ancient ruins in Greece, your outfit can be deemed illegal by a security guard. There is a strict, if unwritten, dress code banning indecent clothing to show respect. This transforms security guards at the Acropolis into stern fashion critics, blocking your entry because your shorts are an inch too short. They are protecting 2,000-year-old monuments from the modern horrors of an exposed kneecap. So when you visit, pack for two things: hot weather, and the approval of the ancients. 37. One Spanish town tried to improve its image by banning the siesta. In 2015, the town of Ador passed an ordinance officially legislating against the traditional afternoon nap to appear more productive. This is like a beach town banning the ocean. It's an attack on the very soul of the culture. Unsurprisingly, the law didn't really work, proving that you can't stop an entire town from getting sleepy in the afternoon. 38. In London, cleaning your rug in the street can get you in trouble with the law. The Metropolitan Police Act of 1839 forbids shaking or beating any carpet or rug in any street. Though you can shake a doormat, but only before 8 a.m. This turns a simple household chore into a clandestine operation, forcing you to furtively shake your dusty carpet in a back alley, looking over your shoulder like a spy. It's a law designed to keep the streets clean by keeping the houses dirty. 39. In Germany, your pillow could be legally classified as a passive weapon. In a court of law, a pillow can be considered an object used to muffle or smother, putting it in the same legal category as brass knuckles if used aggressively. So, a simple pillow fight could, in a very strange and specific legal context, be interpreted as an assault with a passive weapon. Suddenly, those hotel slumber parties seem a lot more dangerous. 40. In the United States, it's illegal to interrupt a church service. But in some states, it's also illegal to do it with a disguise. A specific Alabama law forbids anyone from disrupting a religious congregation while wearing a mask or any other sort of disguise. This wasn't to stop bad Halloween pranks. It was historically aimed at the KKK. But today, it creates the absurd image of someone being charged with two crimes. One for being a nuisance, and another for having a bad sense of fashion while doing it. 41. In Washington state, it's illegal to pretend your parents are rich. Seriously, a state law makes it a crime for a person to falsely represent himself or herself as the representative of any firm, corporation, or individual for the purpose of obtaining credit. This technically makes posting a fake Instagram photo on a yacht you don't own a criminal offense. One bad, etiquette blessed post could land you in court. 42. In the United Kingdom, it's illegal to be found in any building for an unlawful purpose. This is known as the being found law. It basically means you can be arrested for looking suspicious, even if you haven't done anything yet. It's like the police catching you halfway through thinking about stealing biscuits and deciding that's enough for an arrest. 43. In New York, drying your laundry in the open air could make you an outlaw. Many upscale co-op boards and local ordinances ban outdoor clotheslines, deeming them an eyesore that lowers property values. This puts residents in a bizarre conflict. Do you embrace green living and save on energy, or do you protect your neighbor's aesthetic sensibilities? It's a battle between environmentalism and the terrifying power of a homeowners association. 44. In Israel, it is explicitly forbidden to bring a bear to the beach. This isn't a metaphor, it's a real city ordinance in Tel Aviv. This law is a work of art because it implies that at some point this was a recurring problem. I just want to meet the person who made this necessary. You can just picture a bear in sunglasses and swim trunks, looking utterly confused as it's escorted off the sand for not being on a leash. 45. In some parts of Scotland, it's illegal to hang your laundry out to dry on a Sunday. This falls under old Sabbath observance laws that are still technically enforceable. While you're unlikely to be thrown in jail, it paints a lovely picture of a world where even your wet socks are expected to honor the day of rest. It also creates a strategic laundry challenge. Get it all done by Saturday night or resign yourself to a week of damp clothes. 46. In South Carolina, dancing on a Sunday could have once landed you in jail. For decades, the state enforced old blue laws that strictly forbade public dancing on the Sabbath. While most of these have been repealed, it paints a picture of a time when the foxtrot was seen as a gateway to damnation. It was a world where a secret, illicit dance party wasn't about avoiding the cops, but about avoiding eternal fire and brimstone. 47. In England, it is illegal to handle a football in the street. An old bylaw prohibits playing any game or sport in the road to the annoyance of residents. This means that a casual kickabout with friends could technically be seen as a public order offense. So that kid who dreams of being the next Beckham? In the eyes of the law, he's just a public nuisance waiting to happen. 48. In the UK, it is illegal for a taxi driver to transport a rabid dog or a corpse. This is part of the Public Health, Control of Disease Act of 1984. Honestly, I'm glad this law exists, but the fact that both rabid dogs and corpses needed to be specified in the same section is a masterpiece of legislative weirdness. It makes you wonder what kind of week one particular taxi driver had to make this rule necessary. 49. In China, it is illegal to be reincarnated without the government's permission. This is not a joke. A 2007 law requires all Buddhist monks who intend to reincarnate to submit an application to several government bodies for approval. It's a political move to control Tibetan Buddhism, but the result is the most surreal piece of bureaucracy ever conceived. Imagine a soul trying to cross over, only to be stopped by a celestial bureaucrat asking, "Reincarnation permit, please?" It is the ultimate form of state control. Okay, we've looked at 49 points, and only one grand finale remains. But before we get to number 50, it's time for the final verdict. In our opinion, the award for the most unbelievably dumb rule from today's list goes to number 9. Scotland's ban on being drunk while in charge of a cow. It wins because it's a perfect storm of agricultural responsibility, public intoxication, and a legal scenario so absurdly specific, it feels like it was written by a comedian. Do you agree with our verdict? Or did another rule deserve this dubious honor? Let us know in the comments what you think. And now, our final number. 50. Our final rule comes from the United Kingdom, where a fish can legally become the king of other fish. An ancient and bizarre law states that the head of any sturgeon caught off the coast belongs to the reigning monarch, while the tail belongs to the queen. But even weirder is the forgotten title of Herring King, a real phenomenon where one herring and a catch would be crowned and presented to the monarch as a symbol of the fishing season's bounty. It's a beautiful, pointless, and magnificent tradition, proving that when it comes to human rules, the line between law and legend is wonderfully, gloriously blurred. From smiling on command to government-approved reincarnations, these rules are more than just strange. They're a chaotic map of our own history, anxieties, and our baffling attempts to control an uncontrollable world. Now, I have to ask you, what's the single dumbest rule you've ever had to follow in your own life? Tell us your story in the comments below. And if you crave more deep dives into glorious absurdity, make sure to subscribe and hit that notification bell. You won't regret it.